Matt, I guess I got to start off by asking, transitioning over to WEC for next season, basically swapping with Dane Cameron, what are you most looking forward to that new venture and jumping in at WEC here coming up next season?
Yeah, I think jumping across will be a relatively easy move. I've done 4 or 5 years full-time in WEC, so I think that should be an easy transition, let's say. But, next year there's a lot of changes in WEC as well, with obviously the removal of LMP2, a lot more cars in the top class, and then the new GT3 LM category. So I think it'll be a really exciting year. It's a good year to transition over, and in saying that, to be able to compete at Le Mans in the top class for the first time, it's a really great opportunity for me, and looking forward to the challenge. Obviously they've not had the easiest of years, I think, we can say, in the WEC, but I feel like next year's second year running, there's a lot bigger push for sure, and looking at the bigger picture. So I think jumping across, I'm excited for what's to come.
Coming out of year one, this car was new. A lot of people didn't know what to expect from this car, and to now have a season under your belt and heading into next year, what have you feel like you've been able to learn about the car and the way it runs and handles, and what do you feel like you are learning here this weekend at Daytona with the tests so far?
Yeah, I think obviously at this particular test, both our cars are doing a very different procedure, getting ready for next year. But you look at the progression we've had in the last 6 months, especially globally between the both programs, and the information sharing we've both had, and we've really let's say upped the learning progress a lot recently, and I think it only puts us in a better position for next year in both programs, and all the testing going forward. So you look at where we were at the beginning of this year at Daytona and where we are now, it's a big change. So it's going to be a really important year next year.
As far as your schedule, obviously you will be in WEC full season, as we had mentioned, but is there still plans maybe to do some endurance racing for the team? What's that schedule looking like in terms of maybe outside of WEC and other stuff that you'll be doing with the team?
Yeah, this is hard to say at the moment. Obviously, competing in Daytona and hopefully the other endurance races as well. But in terms of other events with Porsche, it's always hard to say because our calendar is changing so much and so often with this program. So we just have to wait and see how things progress. For sure, I'd still like to do some other races next year, but it's always a tough point with calendar and conflicts, because even at this point this year there were some opportunities, but unfortunately they weren't able to arise due to clashes. So.
I asked Matthew Jaminet just a second ago about how the weather may play a factor into testing like this. The car is very complex. There's a lot of different aspects of the car. Having it being so cold and the weather being a little bit of a factor. Does that play an effect at all with the testing? In terms of the car. I mean, how does that affect you guys as drivers when riding out there?
Yeah, I think for sure it makes it more difficult with the weather condition, especially for the time warm-up phase. But in saying that, it's the same for everyone, and it's probably going to be extremely similar conditions for what we'll experience at the 24 next year, if not colder. We look at some of the temperatures in the last years at the 24 in the middle of the night, and I think at one point they've been either 1 or 2 degrees, so extremely cool, and it's going to be extremely challenging. But it's a matter of making it through the first 22 hours and then the race starts. So this test is for sure important for us, but like I said, between car 6 and 7 of this test, also we've got very different programs between the two cars in prep for next year.
Yeah, going into WEC and seeing the expansive growth that there is in the hypercar class, especially, how excited are you to be able to go up against manufacturers that you may not get to see here in IMSA? Certain teams won't be racing or can't race in IMSA. Yeah. So how excited are you to be able to be in a kind of a new environment, if you will, with some of the other hypercars that are going to be on grid in WEC?
I think it's a really exciting year to be able to transition across, for sure. When you look at the depth within the field and across all the manufacturers and the top class with so many full-time or full-season entries. So, I'm sure at Le Mans there'll be a lot more, and hopefully some more of our compatriots coming across from the IMSA Championship as well. So I think it makes it even more exciting and a better time. We've given the opportunity to be able to make my debut in the top class next year in the WEC, but also Le Mans.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.